My name is Father Cyril Odia. I'm a Salesian of Don Bosco, and I live here in Maynooth in Ireland. In fact, we're very happy to bring you this episode right from St. Patrick's Pontifical University here in Maynooth. In this episode, we'll be looking at the theme of swallowing the bitter pill. I think sometimes what happens as we grow and we develop, especially if you are in a college like I am right now, we discover that there's rapid change. A lot of courses, a lot of exams, a lot of papers to be written, and ultimately we want to do well. Our parents, our friends, and society kind of expect that when you are in college, you are someone who is hopefully going to be productive in society. It is the same with our spiritual journey. As children, maybe we have our ways of praying, our ways of relating with our friends, our ways of reacting when we are hurt or when people maybe offend us. And then we get to secondary school and we are teenagers, and sometimes we maybe face more challenges, and sometimes maybe we begin to make some friends and we have a support group. But when we come to the college level, we begin to face the real deal. We are adults now, and there's a lot of expectations. Similarly, in our journey of faith, we are faced with swallowing bitter pills from time to time. What could be some of these bitter pills that people swallow? The first of the bitter pills that I have seen from my experience is the whole idea of peer pressure. Fashion is a big deal, study time, prayer time. Where do people even find time to pray when they are studying, when they are on campus, amidst all the assignments and maybe parties here and there, and maybe other pressures that they might be facing? And so if we look at the whole idea of praying and developing a spirit of prayer while one is in college or studying, it could be a bitter pill to swallow. And so one suggestion I'll be proposing today is maybe to look at people who have had to swallow bitter pills in their journeys with God. And one of those that come rightly to my mind, for instance, as we speak, is no other person than a man named Joseph. You see, Joseph was a man, we are told, he was getting ready to be married to Mary, the mother of Jesus. And all of a sudden, he got this sudden news from Mary herself saying she was with child. And at that point, Joseph was not sure what to do. And being a man of honor, we are told, he decided that he was going to divorce her privately. He made up his mind. But then we are told in the scriptures that in a dream, the Lord revealed to him that he should go ahead and take Mary as his wife, and that the child she is carrying in her womb is of the Holy Spirit. That was a bitter pill indeed for a man like Joseph to swallow. Mary herself also had to swallow the bitter pill. She didn't know how all of this was going to happen, but she trusted and she believed. And so you find a young man, maybe relatively older than the wife to be, having to change maybe their understanding of their future, what they were planning together, but to align those to the will of God. And so when we are in that stage where we have to swallow bitter pills, at the beginning, our reasoning faculties might not be able to understand all of it. How can this be? And that is where we need guidance. So I strongly believe that when we're in this stage of life where we are faced with a lot of challenges, we have to be ready to swallow the bitter pill. Now, the problem of the pill, so to speak, is not because of the taste, whether it is bitter or whether it is sweet. It's just an analogy to say that sometimes the unexpected happens, but for our ultimate good. Sometimes we are saddled, maybe with assignments. I lecture here on campus, and I always feel for the students. You can be lecturing and talking away, and the class is enjoyable, and there's interaction going on, and a lot of learning and examples and fun. But when you switch the topic and say there's going to be an exam, or there's going to be a test, or there's going to be an assignment, the atmosphere changes in the room. It's a bit of a bitter pill. But then it challenges students to bring out their best. Maybe those who do not do library so often begin to say, you know what, maybe I have to spend some more time in the library. You also find those who maybe are not very good in managing their time. Maybe they party a bit too much. Maybe they don't sleep well. Maybe they play a lot of games. Maybe they sometimes spend too much time maybe chatting on their phones and so on. They begin to reduce those things now because they have a bitter pill to swallow. It is the same with our faith journey. Sometimes God calls us to rise up to a new challenge. And it could be maybe getting into a relationship or friendship with God or with people, and that will challenge us a little bit. It's a pill that we have to swallow. Sometimes, unfortunately, it could be something that has got to do with our health. You have somebody who is young, very vibrant, very enthusiastic, very, full of life, and all of a sudden the person falls sick or begins to have some challenges of health, and then it's no longer business as usual. Some people, they do pray at that time when they have some health challenges, and they actually become maybe more spiritual, closer to God, out of fear, out of love, out of anxiety. But it's a bitter pill that is pushing them to that place, and they want to know more. How do I understand how to cope when my health situation is deteriorating? And then maybe they go to see the doctors, maybe they go start reading things up, maybe they begin to pray a bit more, maybe they begin to put their family members together to be reconciled and so on. But the basic fact is that sometimes health situations forces us to take the bitter pill and ultimately maybe make us to be more serious with things that we've taken for granted before. Another aspect I feel is very important in people taking the bitter pill is when we lose someone that is dear to us, or maybe some financial, if you like, mismanagement, or failures, or tragedies of life in general. And that helps people, so to speak, to recalibrate themselves, to plan how to move with their future. So you find somebody, for instance, that have been having life very easy, and there's cash flow, there's a lot of fun happening, and all of a sudden there is a financial crisis happening in life. And instead of chickening out and maybe just getting completely discouraged, they decide to swallow the bitter pill, to say, you know what, I'm going to rise again. I'm going to stand up firm again. And maybe they begin to bring their friends together. Maybe family begin to come around them to help them to organize their finances again. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a health crisis, whether it's a financial crisis, whether it's just like the example I gave on campus, examination crisis. Sometimes we call it exam fever. People preparing for exams, they go into panic modes and so on. But ultimately, if we endure and we persevere during these moments that I'm calling the bitter pill moments, we can become better people. So going back to the example I gave from scriptures, what happened to Joseph and Mary? Their lives were obstructed. They didn't expect the message that they got. It's easier now to see how it ended. It's a joyful ending. It was something that saved the whole world. And today they remain our models. And so don't be surprised when all of a sudden you just discover that your life is taking a different turn or a different twist. Maybe not of anything you've done wrong. You're a normal person trying to live a good life, and all of a sudden you see bad things or difficult circumstances coming your way. That might just be the opportunity for you to enter into a different dimension of growth in faith, of growth in personality, of growth in character, of growth in discipline and maturity, of growth in wisdom, to understand the depth of life. And that has made many people to be very responsible, to be more mature. And today we see them as mentors, we see them as people we admire, but they might not share the bitter pills they had to swallow. And you may be listening to me right now in this program, could be nodding your head to say, well, I know how many bitter pills I've had to swallow, and this is where I am today, and that has made you a better person. But don't be shy to share your experience, especially when we are dealing with younger people, maybe coming up and their resistance level might be a bit low, their attention span may be very short, and maybe gratification, instant pleasure, fast solution, smart thinking, so-called, everything is moving so fast, and when all of that just slows down, they are thrown off balance completely. You could be a mentor to support them. And as you know, one aspect of the bitter pill example I'm giving is of young people today who do not have responsible adults in their lives. And so when they face these natural challenges of life, they need people who have swallowed the bitter pill before them to let them know that I can hold you by the hand and you can walk through this and become a better person. It's always very sad when we hear people giving up because of the challenges of life. It's always very, very sad. Because naturally, we are created to do good. We want to help. We want to reach out and be that friend. But sometimes, even beginning the conversation is very difficult. But for those who have swallowed the bitter pill, I think they have an additional advantage of understanding people who are downtrodden and can reach out to them. So if you find yourself going through that situation where it is tough, it's challenging, you could be here with me on campus, you could be in your room, you could be wherever you are at this moment, don't worry, because that might just be an opportunity for you to become a mentor to those who are coming behind you. And be confident to share your story and be free to reach out for help. There are people who are willing to help, and there are so many organizations, even from within our families, from our faith group in the church, in the parishes, often here in college. We have a lot of people who are willing to help. All you need to do is just to knock on the door or leave a little note or just open your mouth and say, hello, can I talk to you? And that will open all that doors for you to get the help that you need to swallow your bitter pill. Not to run away from it, not to try to, if you like, manipulate or twist it, but to endure it and to grow from it. Usually, we know from scriptures that the Lord does not allow anything that is stronger or greater than us to happen to us, in a sense that it will crush us completely. We're even told about temptation, a very kind of tricky word nowadays, temptation, that the Lord does not allow us to be tempted beyond our limits. And so that's one way to understand the whole concept of swallowing the bitter pill. And finally, I would just like to remind you that the bitter pill is not something that we kind of choose. Because if it's a matter of choice, then maybe it's a selected pill. It's not a bitter pill. It's a bitter pill, and that word bitter there is that it comes to you usually unprepared. But the Lord knows that you have the capacity. So you could even turn it around to say, if my pills are so bitter, and all of these circumstances I'm facing in life, they are so difficult, that might just let me know the resistance and the capacity that the Lord has given to me. And that is why all of these challenges are happening, because the Lord cannot contradict himself. So the temptations will not be more than our capacities. So if we see all of these bitter pills being thrown at us and what we are enduring, it actually shows what we are capable of if we are able to flourish to our full potential. And that might give us a bit of courage. And remember, after swallowing your bitter pill and you have been able to survive by God's grace, help someone else who is going through the same, so that no one is left behind. Another beautiful example of somebody who swallowed the bitter pill in the Bible is the story of Job. Job was a very righteous man, an ideal person, close to God in piety, righteous man, nice family, but he was also very successful. But then something happened. God was pleased with him, and he was having this conversation. Say, look at Job, look at my servant, how good he is. And then the devil said, well, he's good, of course, because he's getting all of these benefits and good things in life are coming his way. But the Lord knew that Job had that resilience inside because the grace of God was with him. And he gave permission. You could go and do anything with him, but don't touch his soul. And so we are told in that beautiful story that everything was stripped of this man called Job. Properties went. His children also died. Ultimately, without wealth, without children, all of that pain and agony, his own health began to deteriorate. Everything was taken from him. Some people might be seriously bereaved. It's a very painful thing, but they might still be healthy. Some people might be healthy, maybe not bereaved, but very broke, very poor. They can't achieve any of their dreams. And sometimes it's very embarrassing to go and start begging and looking for jobs, applying again. Some people have written more than 200 applications, 50 applications, 30 applications. They've done all kinds of interviews and it's just not working out. But they are still struggling. But coming back to the story of Job, we are told he didn't only lose his wealth, he did not only lose his children, but he got very bad health. And at that point, people started advising him, maybe you just curse God and die. Throw in the towel, give up already. It was a tough decision for Job. But this man swallowed the bitter pill. He swallowed the bitter pill. He did not curse God. He endured the pain. He didn't allow the challenges and the circumstances and all of these things happening around him to affect his personal communication and union with God. He was able to swallow the bitter pill. And so sometimes when we see people who are suffering from all kinds of pains and challenges and illness, we do not know what is going on between them and God. Even those in coma that were not able to reach out, and the doctors are there and the nurses are there and they are all hoping what is going on here. We don't know what is going on in the spirit between that person and God. But in this instance of the story of Job, we are told, despite the shocking things that happened to him, innocent as he was, completely innocent, he persevered. He did not waver in his faith. He did not curse God. He did not give up. And what happened? He started getting all his blessings back again. However, they now came in abundance. He got more than even what he had lost in the past. And that story has remained very, very, very inspirational for many people that have found themselves suffering innocently. It's a very good passage if you have found yourself in a situation where you know you are absolutely innocent and you are suffering. There are people that have been incarcerated. They are in prison unjustly, and they are still waiting for something to happen. Maybe one day they will get their freedom. In the Catholic tradition, we are always encouraged to go to the prison and minister to those who are there. We are always encouraged to go and meet those who are sick and minister to them. We are always encouraged to welcome the stranger, those who are homeless, and minister to them. We are always encouraged to feed those who are hungry and minister to them. Sometimes these people that I have described in these and other similar situations, they are struggling to keep their faith going in God and in humanity. And that is where we have the calling to help them to persevere while they are swallowing their bitter pills and to hang on there. And we believe that by God's grace, all of those will be turned around. Yes, now in this present life, as we continue to fight for justice, and absolutely in the life to come, when Jesus comes again to bring all of this to perfection. Let's swallow the bitter pill and let's remain in the grace of God.